In March 2025, Global Talent Pathways New Zealand CEO Janet Kamau set out on a mission across Kenya, a 2-week journey with one clear goal: to connect Kenya's brightest students with world-class educational opportunities in New Zealand. Starting in Nairobi, Janet held strategic meetings with education leaders, including Andrew B., principal of Machakos KMTC. In Nakuru, she engaged with Chief Officer Rosemary Kimani of the Ministry of Education, ICT and e-Government, a partnership that led to a direct student session at Nakuru Polytechnic. Over the following days, Janet hosted seminars and student forums in Nakuru, Eldamaravine, Eldoret, Kericho, Bomet, and Kakamega, offering personalized guidance and answering hard questions.
What I know about New Zealand is it's an island.
Yes.
So it is maybe surrounded by water bodies. And what I know also from social studies back in the primary school,
yes,
that New Zealand has more sheep rather than the people,
yeah,
in terms of population.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to do is to actually bring awareness about New Zealand more than it is anything else, so that you can make better informed decisions about whether you want to come and live and work there first, as opposed to me saying, here's a course, just come and do it. I think it's nice when you get to make a decision based on, oh, I've done some research or someone has told me something about this and I really enjoy it.
What stood out during the trip was a deep sense of uncertainty among students, misinformation, confusion, and a legacy of rogue agents had left many unsure of who to trust.
So what worries you the most about studying overseas? Anyone who's considering to study overseas? I can tell you mine was that I was so far away from home. That worried me a lot, that if something happened, I was so far away from home. I don't think it's gone away. I still feel the same way. It takes 29 hours to fly from New Zealand to Kenya. So it's a long way. You have a lot of time either going that way or coming back. So that still worries me even when I'm not actually a student. Yeah. So when you're an undergrad student in, whether it's, I know Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they have work rights for students. If you're an undergrad, if you're doing an undergrad degree, diploma or certificate, you're only allowed to work 20 hours a week during when you're going to school, and then you can work 40 hours. And we'll talk about it as well in the process. I can tell you, in Kenya, when you're going to school, you're not working. You're told to concentrate on your studies, and parents do that. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying the difference is that in Western society, they try and teach children from an early age to balance things. And it starts from a very early age. So for example, a child is going to go to school, and then they're going to go and play badminton for 3 hours, and then they're going to go home and probably do a little bit of homework. So you're juggling these things constantly from the age of maybe 5, 6. So by the time you get to college, you can be able to do college and do something else. And then we start working from the age of 13. So they've got something called the living wage. So 13-year-olds, quite often, until recently, when you could do a paper run. So a paper run is you go and get all the newspapers, and all the people who paid to get newspapers delivered to their houses. You get a big box, and you ride your bicycle and you go from one house. Anyone who's paid to buy to get a newspaper delivered, it's it's delivered in their letterbox, because we have letterboxes. And you get paid for the many number of newspapers that you have delivered from the age of 13. I know I didn't work until I was 19, which is when I finished doing my studies in Italy. So it's very different. I do say that you're very adaptable. A lot of people, it's just a matter of adapting to it, I guess. It takes a little bit of getting used to it. But 20 hours is Saturday and Sunday, if you think about it. So you have Monday through to Friday, you're going to school, and you can do study, and then you've got Saturday and Sunday to actually work. It means that you have no play, but you could also have Monday, and then you do 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, and you can do part-time work when you're studying as well. So it could be 3 hours a day, or it could be 2 hours a day, and then you have a chunk of it on one day of the weekend. Very much flexible with the way you work.
Janet faced this challenge head-on. She assured students that Global Talent Pathways New Zealand does not charge fees, and that their process is transparent, ethical, and student-centered. She also offered a clear picture of life and education in New Zealand, its diversity, safety, and strong academic standards.
If you apply for a university, you have to pay for the school fees before you even apply for a visa. Why? Because they don't want for people to come and apply for visas alafu waseme hawana pesa. In that country, they are bound by law to take care of people. So if I'm sick, I go to the hospital for free. If you have a child, the children go to school for free. They don't want people who are going to come and become a burden to the system. So they have very strict measures. For you to apply for a visa, you have to show that you have a minimum of 2 million Kenya shillings in a bank account for 9 months. It's a lot of money. But wamecalculate, wakaona, mtu ndio aweze kukaa New Zealand bila shida. This is how much money you need. In New Zealand, we pay rent every week or every fortnight. We also get paid every week or every fortnight, twice a month. Very rarely do people get paid a monthly salary. In Kenya, it's the opposite. So as we pay all our bills on a weekly or fortnightly basis. So wamecalculate wakaona, for you to be able to stay, you need to be able to actually have that money in the bank account as a proof of funding. It's non-negotiable, unfortunately. Australia has changed their laws for international students. And to make it difficult for people, they decided that they need 7 million for people to apply for a visa. So New Zealand is relatively affordable compared to going to Australia. I said it's one of the least corrupt countries in the world. I can guarantee if you have documentation that is actually accurate, you will get a visa denial. And they're very strict about integrity. They say your word is your bond. If you say that this is what it is, then that is what it is. And they don't believe that you'll be lying. If you lie, then it becomes very hard for them to forgive you. It's quite strict. So all the documentation has to be accurate and valid. It has to be certified. All your transcripts have to be valid and accurate for us to actually process any of your paperwork. You have to have a passport that is got at least 12 months in it. You don't know anything about New Zealand and they know nothing about you. They don't believe Kenyans speak English. So because of that, everyone who has to come to New Zealand has to do an English test, me included. I've just started doing immigration law at school in February. And I had to go and sit an English exam because English is not my first language. I've lived there for 21 years and I've held positions. But for you to go to school, the rule is the same. Let's make concessions because of ABCD. No, English is not your first language. If I look at your high school certificates, even though they speak, you've done it in English, it is not recognized. So you have to do the test.
there's no two ways about it. Hakuna ile ya kusema, oh, I even tried to send a letter and say, look, I've been here for 21 years and I'd like to be given an opportunity to have an interview to prove that I can speak English. He said the rules are the rules. There's no two ways about it. I said our help is free for us, and the reason for that is because we pay for the taxes. For us, when someone is actually coming from Kenya to travel there, you have to have medical insurance. And when you have medical insurance, then you can access hospital services for free, which you have paid for in your medical insurance. You have to provide financial proof that you can be able to take care of yourself. Incomplete. So in Kenya sometimes you jaza makaratasi when I haven't lived in Kenya for a while, but unaona question of you kama unataka kutibu au utajibu, so you leave it blank. In New Zealand there's only two reasons why you would leave it blank. Either you don't have it or you are lying. So for them, incomplete information equals not accurate information. It's very important for you to actually have. We have a high visa decline rate from Kenya. About 48% of people who apply, for every 100 people, 48 of them are declined. 1, documentation. 2, proof of funding. Those are the 2 big reasons why people don't come. So I haven't, in New Zealand, they trust agents. In Kenya, they don't trust agents. I think I should say that I don't charge students any agent fees to actually come to New Zealand. The New Zealand government and the New Zealand institutions have worked through the process so that the agents who actually bring New Zealand Kenyans to New Zealand to study, they recompensate me. They don't charge you. And in fact, if anyone tells you that for you to go to New Zealand, someone needs to charge, you need to pay for them, it is inaccurate. I can't apply for a visa for you because I'm not a licensed immigration advisor. It has to be done by a licensed immigration advisor. It's done online, there's no interviews, but we work with an immigration lawyer to make sure that we want to change the decline rate from 48 to nothing. And it's because when people apply for themselves, quite often they don't get all the right details in place. Now, when we do it, you're applying like a Kenyan and you don't know how to do it. They have very strict rules there, so we work with agents, immigration lawyers and advisors to do that for us. What do? I work with individual students to determine what they want to study. I do all the applications for the students and communicate to the school. And once you've got an admission letter, then I work with you to actually get you to pay the school fees to the school. Once you've done that, we start the visa process. The visa process is being done by someone else who's also in New Zealand, who I work with quite closely. And the cost for the visa and the cost for the lawyer works out to be about 150,000 Kenya shillings. The process from zero until you arrive at the airport takes about 6 months. So it takes a long time. All of that time, there's a requirement by the New Zealand government for us, every person you talk to, whether it's the school, the lawyer, me, we are bound by law to make sure that we only provide the right information. If there's an issue, the New Zealand government will know exactly where or who has actually let the student down, and they'll come and find you. I have not been to prison, and I don't intend to go. I have a New Zealand passport, which means I'm a New Zealand citizen. If I do something that is untoward, it's not difficult for them to come and find me. So it is in my best interest for me to actually not be scrupulous. It is in your best interest that you work with someone who can be actually trusted. The reason why I am able to do what I'm doing is because they have done the checks to make sure that I can represent the schools for New Zealand. And I can represent the students well. If a student complains, the agent did this, or I talked to Janet, they did this, or the school has done this, the government take it very, very seriously. There's no two ways about it, because it's a big investment. It's a big investment because I've met people wameuza shamba na wanashindwa kuleta, and the kids don't end up going to study. It's heartbreaking when I hear things like that. So I did talk through this a little bit. I said that we find a course, apply for you, the school, you get your admission letter, we start the visa process after you've paid for your fees. The visa process itself actually takes 6 weeks to gather all the information. And we have multiple interviews with you to figure out whether you're actually ready and you're willing to come. So that it's not a nipatie makaratasi nitaenda, there's no nitakujazia. We have to work through the process with you to make an informed decision. That's the most important thing. You want to arrive there because you are an agent of yourself. When you umejituma, you've actually worked through every single step with us to get us there. When you arrive at the airport, I'll be there. Probably I'll bring Charlie and a few other people. It's really important for us as a Kenyan community in New Zealand to take care of our own. It's a big part of what we're doing. I talked about courses that I'm working with. So one of the things that is interesting in New Zealand is not many people actually who are born and raised in New Zealand have degrees and masters. Everybody in Kenya has a degree and a master. A lot of people have. In New Zealand, they don't need to. Why? Because the kids start working from the age of 13. And you get paid a living wage. By the time you're 16, you've got 3 years work experience. By the time you're 18, you have 5 years work experience. By the time you're 25, you're a master. So, you don't need the education to get the job because the jobs are there. So utaanza kufagia. By the time ukisha miaka 16, sasa siwe ni supervisor wale watu wanafagia. By the time you're 25, you're in charge of a whole section of the country watu wa kufagia. That's simple. That's taking it very simple. My daughter learned how to make coffee when she was 13. When she was 19, she was in charge of a whole group of people taking care in a restaurant by the time she was 19. At the moment, she's moved to Australia and she's earning more money than I used to earn when I was working. So it's quite easy. However, because of that, New Zealand is trying to attract people who have got base degrees because there's not enough of them in New Zealand. So master's programs are really, really good. They go between 1 year to about 2 years. And when you finish the master's, you're given a 3-year post-study work visa for you to work in it. Look for a job. I said we have 4% unemployment rate.
Global Talent Pathways New Zealand offers free consultations, guidance on course selections, university application, and visa support. After the tour, Janet also met with PS Roslyn Jogu from the State Department of Diaspora Affairs, further strengthening future collaborations. If you are a student dreaming of studying in New Zealand or a parent looking for a trusted pathway, Global Talent Pathway New Zealand is your partner in that journey. Visit their website at www.globaltalentpathwaysnz.com. Follow them on all their social media platforms or WhatsApp them to get started. You can also email them at jkamau@globaltalentpathways.co.nz. Global Talent Pathways, your pathway to a world-class education in New Zealand.